Hey guys, Board Now back with you, and on this video I will be reviewing episode 8 of Devs, the Alex Garland miniseries. So this is the final episode. I've arrived at the end, and yeah, very mixed feelings. I think on the last episode and on the last few, I think this one is hard to really judge for me coming to the end. It does feel like one of those classic examples of it being a bit too padded out. I think this could have been stripped down to maybe 6 episodes rather than 8, or maybe even 4. But 6, I think, sounds reasonable. Or certainly you could argue then it might have worked better as a 2-hour film. But I think I've mostly enjoyed it. It's just the last few episodes have been a bit more hit and miss, and I end it in a funny sort of place. But just watching the final episode, I was kind of dazzled at times, again throughout its amazing sort of imagery. Obviously, apart from the actress playing Lily, the cast have been good, I think. And some interesting themes, but it's just the overall mystery as we've come towards the end, I think, has just been lacking a bit. And this finale, although it's pretty impressive, it's pretty solid and tight, it just feels quite anticlimactic. It feels like there's not enough to really surprise you and make you think, and not enough that you couldn't maybe predict, or you couldn't see it going that way. It does feel a little underwhelming. At the same time, a lot of the things it does, I'm quite impressed with. It sort of held my attention in the moment, but there were moments where it felt quite plodding as well. So I'm unsure really at how to judge this and rate this series overall. I think certainly for the first 4, maybe 5 episodes, it was building to something. Certainly the first 4, I think it was building to something where you think, yeah, this could be really great, this could be really special. But because the last 3 were more hit and miss, I think that does drag down the overall quality. But I think, yeah, this final episode is a good example of just how, yeah, my mixed feelings on it, because at times I thought, well, this is either a work of visionary genius, or it's kind of a self-indulgent type of mess, and I'm not quite sure which side I'm for. And this is why actually I think I would rewatch the series, because I think it would help me come to that conclusion. And I mean, 8 episodes is not too much. It's because for the most part it is a show I have enjoyed. It's just the last few where it's faltered a little bit. Still good stuff in those episodes, but yeah, I was very indifferent to this final episode. I have to say that was my reaction to it. So it's obviously all based at the big night at Dev's, Lily meeting up to her fate. And one thing I forgot to mention in the last episode is that Stuart is kind of this, now playing this almost godlike figure, where he is sort of this guy at the gates. We hear his voiceover, but his attitude has changed quite a lot. I think maybe hearing what happened to Lyndon, I think he really has soured, and he's actually now interested in trying to outdo Devs. He has decided than just letting it go ahead as planned isn't in the best interest of everyone, the world. But yeah, he's at the start of this episode, you see him and he's talking, and he meets Lily at the entrance to Devs, and he warns her against it. He tries to convince her not to go in, and Lily basically responds with, well, I don't think I've got any choice. And obviously she goes in as planned, but that's one of those lines you're not sure if she means because that's her fate and that's the way her future has been determined, which we, as far as we know, she doesn't believe. But or it could just mean then she has to face up to this one way or the other. She has to, because she's determined to put a stop to it. She doesn't believe her fate is to die. So she goes in as planned, and Forrest is there to meet her. Obviously, he's waiting inside, and some of the Forrest stuff in this scene is just stuff we kind of already know. But he runs through the whole thing, the whole philosophy of devs, and I think the interesting stuff is because he goes through the whole simulation stuff with Lily. But the interesting lines from him is when he's talking about the daughter, his daughter, and it's him saying he basically believes she is alive because obviously with the technology and with the simulation that devs, they can present to him his daughter, although it's not the same thing. It's not in the flesh, and it is almost like a time capsule on history. And Lily puts this to, says, well, it's never going to be your daughter because it's just like a version of her. It's just like a copy, if you like. So this argument to do with if you copy like a bit of media, it's never going to be the exact identical because it will always be a copy. So, and that's something the show has played with. But Forrest is pretty undeterred, and they do this nice little swerve on us where it makes it look like Lily is because the whole thing is that she her future is that she goes into like this elevator, and that's where her fate is basically sealed. But she goes into it with Forrest, and she actually kills Forrest. Because she has a gun on her. She has Kenton's gun. But the way it plays with that is then we see that, and then we find out then it's not actually happening in real time. It's actually Forrest showing Lily to saying this is the future. This is what is about to happen. Because she's ready to face up to it, and he basically says, well, it's not quite time yet. And then it cuts to if you like, him showing her and us. That's the interesting part. What's basically going to happen? And Katie's obviously there watching along. She's like controlling things. So we get to the real event, and Stuart actually sort of intervenes. Like he causes a malfunction in the system. Which actually doesn't seem to help that much. It doesn't really save Lily or Forrest. But I think he's just looking at the bigger picture than is, devs has to be stopped one way or the other. And I think that's why he warned Lily not to go in, because he probably realised then he couldn't save her once she was in. Because his main concern is obviously just trying to destroy the system, which he achieves. So that's a nice character sort of moment for Stuart, I think. There has been some good supporting characters along the way in this show. I think he's been one of them. But yeah, one of the sort of anticlimactic sort of things is definitely the fact that Lily makes the choice just to toss the gun out the elevator. So that's the way she puts an end to it, or the way she tries to prevent the determined future where she kills Forrest. She just, at the last minute, she tosses the gun out the elevator. So that's pretty anticlimactic, pretty lame, to be honest. I mean, okay, as far as Forrest and Katie are concerned, it was going to happen no matter what. So to them it wasn't predictable, but I mean for us it probably was quite predictable. You can imagine that's sort of a very like easy way out. You expect here in the finale them to come up with something a bit more original, creative than her just tossing a gun out the elevator. So anyway, she avoids actually shooting Forrest, but then obviously Stuart like malfunctions. So in a twisted sort of way, it's Stuart who sort of creates all this, because obviously she made that choice. So the elevator like crashes down on the floor, and Forrest dies pretty instantly. Lily manages to crawl for a few seconds, but Lily dies as well. But there is a twist afoot, because we see Katie working her magic once again. And obviously she questions why Stuart did that. He said because Devs just has to be stopped. And there's quite a nice little bit with Katie and the I can't remember her exact role, but the government official who we saw Forrest take doing a tour of with like a few episodes ago, because she's there talking to Lily. And basically at this point, the whole of Devs pretty much has been destroyed. But Lily comes up with this technology where basically Forrest can be preserved in like some sort of an afterlife, him and Lily, which is an interesting little twist. It's not completely original, but it's an interesting idea for Katie just to use this one particular section. So the whole of Devs has been shut down, destroyed, whatever, but she just preserves this one little space for Forrest. And I mean particularly Forrest, because obviously she has sympathy with him, and she ultimately wants him to be in a good afterlife, to be with his daughter, which is the whole point in a way of what she's doing. But she talks to this government official and asks, I need you to keep this funding. I just need this one thing for I don't know if she mentions Forrest's name, but for his sake, basically. And obviously it doesn't give you the answer whether she agrees, the official, but you kind of get the impression she probably will, then this will become a thing now for Forrest in the afterlife. But to explain the science, basically Katie takes the last sort of memories of Forrest and Lily, I guess, from like literally the split second before they died. So their last living memories, Katie like preserves them to create this afterlife for them. So that's quite a nice little neat sort of touch. It's a nice touch, although I think the way the ending sort of plays out, it maybe leaves you in a bit of a murky place as well, because it doesn't really do that much dramatic for the plot sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's just this nice little thing for Forrest. So what happens is obviously Lily like reappears in like an alternative like version, and at first she doesn't realise that she's in the afterlife. So she kind of wakes up back in the past, if you like. She wakes up and Sergei's still there. So this is pre him dying. So they wake up together. And this is interesting. I mean, this is something where they could have played with this. And maybe if... It sort of feels like the episode was a bit unbalanced. Maybe if they spent so little time at the actual Devs bit and Lily and Forrest, maybe they could have spent longer in this afterlife section, because the afterlife section doesn't last very long. It's like 5, maybe 10 minutes at the most, but not very long. So it doesn't really have time to really play with these ideas. And bearing in mind, not that much happened at the Devs, part with Lily and Forrest. I think there could have been room for them to have done more with this afterlife section, and it might have led to a more satisfying sort of final episode. So, as I said, Lily wakes up with Sergei, which is sort of interesting in itself, because she's obviously decided now he was a Russian spy, he lied to me, he didn't tell me the truth, and she's lost Jamie anyway, but that's different now. She's in the afterlife. But she basically decided Sergei, because of him lying to her, wasn't the ideal fit for her, let's say, and she became more interested in Jamie. So they go to work. She goes with him like to the tech company, and they actually have a little bit of a fight because she asks him, "Can I have a look at your phone?" And this is where it really could have played with what's happened in the series, and this whole idea of, well, Lily's got the hindsight now of having lived through this, so she can actually alter the future. I mean, this is at the point where it is like kind of a different version of events, although it's an afterlife, but obviously she can alter it. But they don't really do much with that. He shows her the phone. She obviously sees that Sudoku puzzle, which obviously there was a big thing over, because why would you have security on a Sudoku puzzle? And that's kind of his defense. He says, yeah, there's nothing there, it's just a Sudoku puzzle, and he kind of snatches the phone back. So there's kind of, I think that scene is partly there, just to show that she obviously now has this knowledge and this hindsight, and that maybe their relationship wasn't kind of suitable, especially finding out he's a Russian spy. But I just wish they'd done a bit more about that. It just feels quite anticlimactic, like a lot of this episode, to be fair. Because then later on, I think the last thing we see with Lily is that she just goes and finds Jamie and she hugs him. So it's kind of planting the seed. Then in this reality, she's probably just gonna like leave Sergei and end up with Jamie anyway, which is all fine. I just wish they'd done a bit more with it. But of course, the big thing is that she sees Forrest and she sees him playing with his family, with his daughter. And as someone else pointed out, the time scale is a bit out of whack here, because actually this is the day that Sergei has his big appointment and is, planning to be like sort of promoted to dev. So you would have thought Forrest would have been in the interview, but whatever, he's out in the field with his kids playing, and that's when Lily sees him. And that's when Forrest explains the whole thing, that then this is an afterlife. And it sort of does end in a more happier place, because in this reality, Forrest does get to be with his daughter. And it's not just a simulation, so it is kind of more of a... Whereas I think him just like viewing a simulation, and it's never going to be like the real thing of her. So there is something quite sad about that, because in some ways it sort of stops Forrest from moving on. But in this, because he's dead anyway, so he might as well have this kind of serene sort of afterlife. But he explains to Lily, because he's come around to like the whole multiverse theory, that has been proved to him over the course of the show. So he says to Lily, well, this is just one version of our afterlife, if you like, of our like alternative lives. In other versions, things are a lot more dark and murky and a lot more tragic. We move to much dark. So let's just be grateful that then we have this happy sort of version. Now, I think with that, the show is maybe making you think then, yeah, but is it too perfect? It's that whole idea of having like an idealized sort of life where everything is like just perfect. Is that really reality, and is that really healthy? I think it's a double-edged sword, but then again, I think just this idea that he ends up in the afterlife with his family, there's obviously no, that's not an extreme ideal of happiness, because that's obviously how he would want it anyway. And he's still, assumably, the head of this tech company and all that. It's just the only change is that his family doesn't die and he gets to be with them. And ultimately, Lily is probably in a happy place because she has that knowledge of Sergei, so it means she doesn't have to be a part of. I mean, obviously, in a way, some of what happens is probably still going to happen because Sergei is still a Russian spy, or at least I'm assuming that. See, because it's a different reality, there's an outside chance he's not a Russian spy. I just thought of that. Maybe in this more idealized like version of reality, maybe he's not a Russian spy. That's always possible. Although he still had the Sudoku thing. I mean, my take is that he is still a Russian spy. Because that's the whole point with Lily kind of asking him about the phone and making the choice then to go to Jamie later. But you could certainly read it as he's not a spy in this reality. But anyway, my point was then, assuming he is still a spy in this reality, then events could still play out very similarly because he would still go to devs, he would still try and infiltrate and get the information, and they would still probably have to kill him. I mean, I guess the only difference is then Lily wouldn't necessarily be involved because I'm assuming she's going to make the choice to leave him for Jamie anyway. But yeah. Interesting stuff. It does make you think. I think that's one thing you have to give the series, even though I ended it with a bit of a negative review. I think you have to give it, then it does at least make you think and question these things. But that's it. I do wish they'd spent a bit more time in that alternative like afterlife and just playing with these themes. But you get quite a nice line for Forrest where he says, "Let's go for coffee sometimes." So it's sort of this sort of ironic, sort of surreal type thing where him and Lily can actually be friends in this alternative reality, whereas in the other on Earth it was very different. They were opposing each other. So there you have it. That's Devs. Interesting overall. Slightly disappointed finale and mixed feelings on the last 3 episodes. Overall, I think I'm mostly positive. I would say it's worth seeing, but it's not quite the great show, the really outstanding show it could have been. I think the writing did falter towards the end, and it did become more frustrating. But I think I might watch it again at some point to see if I feel differently. So overall, a good show, but I'm not sure a great show. There were things that did let it down quite badly. But there you have it. That's my thought on the finale of Devs. If you've seen the episode, if you've seen the whole series, then let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Well, like anyway, because that's very important for my overall like status and to attract more views and new subscribers. But obviously, yeah, subscribe if you are new and get me up on Twitter. The link is in the description. And you can also ring the bell on YouTube to let you know when I'm going to have new videos, new content. And other sort of sci-fi type shows I've been doing. I've been looking at the Sci-Fi comedy upload from Greg Daniels. I've done the first 3 episodes of that, so you can expect another episode up soon. And also, I've not done one for a while, but I was doing Tales of the Crypt. Not of the Crypt. I'm getting confused with the Tales of the Loop, the sort of anthology type show, which is also on Amazon actually, and that's a very different show to upload. That's more of an experimental, almost like Twilight Zone style series. But yeah, I'll get back to that soon actually, because I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. But you can check out the first 3 reviews of that on the channel as well. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.